Last week, then wait, last week we had a demo, 2 demos actually. I think we mentioned the YouTube channel with the videos and from the Harvest conference, and there are more videos. Pretty sure there are more videos now. Okay. Lots of videos. So go check them out. We had another update actually. Gallery site update. Not one, today. Today is 10/15/2024. And we have demos.
We have a demo. Yes. Arcadius, I don't know if I'm saying his name correct. He's gonna have a demo.
I bet you are not saying their name correctly.
Of course I'm not. That's why I'm like, yeah. That he's gonna introduce himself and he's gonna tell us his name.
Do a demo of URL rewriting.
Right. Correct.
To some notifications and some discussions. So we'll see later. So demos are for after the status usually, unless you have to go and you want to do it now because your time zone and you don't want to spend the whole time in the meeting. Just let me know. And we might have topics. I don't have any.
We have left. Well, we're going to talk about the admin menu.
Or we won't talk about the admin menu if we don't want to change it. That, and usually when Zoltan is here, Zoltan wants to talk about something and share a link in the chat. So we'll see what's happening.
Not actually. I'm just here for the admin menu.
Okay. That status. Let's see. One, nothing of value during last week's triage. OrchardCore. Where are we? The 8th. Where is the 8th here? So this one we saw, and then, oh yes, I was like, what is this bunch? That's me. Magnus Peterson, remove data protection keys from Azure blob storage when deleting tenants. I think we mentioned that last week. I'm being very clear. That's why it seems familiar. Modular tenant events, which when a tenant is removed, it will delete the blob. Which is done correctly. Blob client, await delete effect is async. And Mike, when you see this code, what would you do? Nothing. You are muted, so you don't want to say anything.
Sorry, say that again.
If you see this code, you would like to do something on this code.
Yeah, I did. I mentioned it. The blob client should be wrapped into service. Because we're using it. What's that?
So you have more things to say then. I just thought that you would say let's remove async await.
Oh yeah, that's true. But yeah, one of the issues that I thought with this PR was, we're utilizing the blob client in multiple places and it should be wrapped by the service. But
interesting, because maybe the usage of a blob client has to be shared by design.
I don't think so. It's not a big deal because it's only used like into 2 or 3 places, but still.
But that's a good question. Yeah. Like here, it won't matter. But the question is, let's check the docs to see what they recommend for the blob client. Because if we use this feature for like managing media items and we don't do it correctly, that would be better.
And that event should be sealed too.
Yeah. Maybe even private, because why expose that?
Internal, yeah.
I don't know. Or maybe to unregister it. Yeah, at least, yeah.
We can polish it all day.
Yes, But I was just going with a simple comment about that. I thought Mike would jump on that and then it triggered things. I'm like, okay.
There's actually a static code analyzer for that, for .NET. I hope to work on static code analysis soon-ish. So we'll see something for that too.
Okay, so this one, don't configure JsonOption by default. This is an ambiguous title. I don't like this, and I don't know if it's I don't know, like, do we now by default not configure JsonOptions, or should we not configure JsonOptions by default, but we do it so that I don't. Let's see. If you want to talk about it, okay, change shift from JsonOption. Oh, the default JsonOptions that is registered in the site set in the EI. Okay, so there was a default JsonOptions. I think I remember that, and now there is no more. Or were we missing some default?
Oh, before what we did is that we configured the MVC options to match the document serializer options. And we really shouldn't do that because we can't force everyone to use our settings. Okay. So I removed it. But then I added a formatter, an output formatter, to allow us to say, if we're rendering a content item, use our serializer, because you'll need that serializer in order to do it. And also in the endpoints, instead of just returning a content item, we also say, hey, here's a content item and here's a serializer to use to, correctly serialize it.
Document JSON serializer options. Document JSON serializer options. So what is this MVC options configuration doing now? Output formatter. Okay, that's what it's doing. It's configuring an output formatter. Document system text JSON output formatter. And what is this formatter doing? System text with our custom. Is it? No, what is that thing here? Oh, you pass our custom. Okay. So what's the point of? Oh, I see. Can write. Okay. The custom formatter will intercept iDocument and iEntity. And then in this case, MVC. And this formatter, how is that used?
It's called by the by ASP.NET. It gets called when it goes through all these handlers, and if you find one that can return true for the can write type, then it utilizes that specific. Yeah.
So before we were serializing every JSON using our options, every JSON result, but now it will only do it automatically for the things it knows: iContent, iDocument, iEntity.
Yes, and this is for MVC only. If you still want to do the same thing, if you want to, like, if you have a minimal API that you need to return a document, then you should manually use the options and provide it the options.
And use the result.json and the thing here.
Correct. Yep.
And is there the same? Is there the same feature as the formatters in minimal APIs or not?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay.
I looked briefly and I did not see an option, no.
Cool. Okay. Well, technically, these are breaking changes. Because every
No, they're
JSON,
not.
every
They're not,
JSON
because
document that were serialized using our options now are no more serialized using our options.
yeah, but I think it's more of a bug than anything.
Yeah.
Because we really shouldn't by default configure MVC in the framework, because our framework doesn't really depend on it. We shouldn't be configuring it for everyone else. So if someone wants to configure it, that's their decision. They can make that decision, but we shouldn't
You
just
know,
force it. So.
In .NET, which is a much bigger project, there are some bugs that are not fixed because this will be a breaking change. Because some customers actually depend on the bug, like a behavior that was not supposed to behave this way, but people were like, that's how it works, so let's do that, or let's do something else to circumvent the issue. And then if you fix the bug, then you break the user's code. So some bugs are not fixed because this is just used already in this way. So fixing a bug is actually a breaking change, because yeah, there are bugs and bugs. Like throwing an exception, you could also say like fixing the exception is a breaking change because maybe you're expecting the exception and now there is no more exception. And but initially I said that because I know there are some things that are, it is technically breaking to change the serializer for default documents, but I assume it's an acceptable breaking change. It's like you should not be broken by that, even if you are changing the behavior. It should not be a reason to not ship it in a non-breaking change. Like you want to change the menu.
That's why it's listed as a behavioral changes. So you notice I moved it away from the regular change log to make
I
sure.
think you mentioned that
category.
last week. Yeah, I was looking for, and oh, and you added the missing. We talked about it. After that, there was an issue with the number of things here. Hash it.
Yeah, it was at the below. Yeah, right there. Yeah, there you go. On line 125.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Best PRs, the ones I love. DeploymentSourceBase. So you see all these classes are changed now, and now what you don't need to do is a check on the type. So we are hiding what's happening by inheriting from the base class. I'm saying that sarcastically because people who know me will understand the sarcasm. People who don't know what I mean, I'm being clear that I don't like these kind of changes personally. So we have a base class that is just adding a check here. But now when you create a source, you are supposed to, well, you're encouraged to use this base class without understanding what this base class is doing. It's just the DeploymentSourceBase. Okay, well, if it's called base, let's inherit from the base. And magically, it will not process a step if it is not of the type that you're accepting. And it's casting automatically. Personally, I like to understand that I'm just implementing an interface and I can step over the thing if it's not the one I want to manage. And when I read this code, I understand that I will be called for every step and I just care about this one. So I don't have to guess what's happening in the baseline. But there is less code now when we create a class. Yeah, so these are not sealed either. This could be, but performance doesn't matter really much here because it's just called when we do imports and it's just a few calls. That won't matter much. So that's just refactoring. I'm also not keen with all these changes because when we start one, then you can find a lot of places where you could say, oh, then I can do that on this class because we have an interface. So let's make a base class for interface. And every time we have an interface, then we get a new base class, even if it does almost nothing. And we have lots of interfaces. And it's also one more concept to know or understand instead of the interface. Now you have to understand the base class, what it does. So I'm just more things. So that, then this is yellow, we don't care. Orange here. Set image alt attribute to empty string if media text is null or empty. So if the media text is null or empty, we don't want to set the alt attribute. Here before, in the HTML for the media field, we were using in the image tag the text for the alt attribute and the text inside the link. Okay. So if the link is empty, we were still creating alt attribute. Now it is evaluating what is that? Media text. Okay, we were okay. So the code was there text. We take the first one. I saw Drew. If you want to talk, Drew, about that, feel free, because you know better.
Okay, that was just an issue that was out there by someone else that I was working on, and they were. It was that for accessibility, that if the way it was working was the alt, if the image text was empty or the media text was empty, it was putting in the file name, and they said it should be the alt text should be empty if there's no alt text to show, so that screen readers don't read the file name.
Okay, makes sense. So I assume we decided at some point to use it for the file name. But it's a good decision. It's a bad decision. So now it's using what now? Nothing. If there is no text, it's using nothing.
Right. If there's no media text, then it just doesn't have an alt. It has an alt with an empty string.
Question here in Razor, when we have an attribute, I know that if the value is null, it won't generate the attribute. If it's empty, is it generating the attribute with an empty value?
It's generating the attribute without the equal and the quotation.
Okay.
So it's just, yeah.
And that's fine. Okay, we still have the alt, but it's explicit that we have no value, so that may be better. Okay.
Yeah.
Because for validators, they will say, okay, you are not missing the alt. You had an alt, but you made it empty on purpose, so I won't trigger a warning.
Right.
Awesome, thank you. Did Mike tell you to do that?
Yeah. Yes.
What, like I was like, maybe not, but I'm like, I recognize the coding patterns sometimes.
That was like a parent asking one of the children, did your brother tell you to do that?
Yeah, exactly. No, but I mean, we've talked about it many times, and I know Mike did that at some point everywhere on his PR. And I know Mike is reviewing all the PR, so maybe.
And by the way, there's an analyzer for that as well. So.
I don't want those. I think, well, that's fine to define a rule, but again, sometimes I prefer to not have rules and be okay with any of them. I think any or length 0 are the same thing. I think I mentioned that the compiler itself will just convert both of them to the same thing, to the most optimized way. Or maybe the next version of C# will do that better because it knows it's an array, so it knows that any means length 0, so it could just replace it in the compile code. So that's why I think sometimes it's better to just not say anything and accept anything, because it will in the end do the good thing, instead of preventing half of the people who are used to use one or the other to go with a warning and change it and question themselves. And instead of forcing.
Yeah, that's a good point. If .NET indeed will move with this.
It's like every single rule, right? Like, where do we start imposing a rule on the style, or does it really matter? Like in this case, I think it doesn't matter.
We have a suggestion even. It doesn't apply, I don't think, in the views, but if you write this code in a C#, it will give you a suggestion to convert it. So it should be length greater than or equal to 0, not 20. But
what is great about the analyzers in C# is that we can decide if we want to ignore completely, to have a suggestion in the code when we see it, or to have a message in the error list, like saying you should do that, and then also to say, no, you fail. So we have different levels, and that's great in terms of filtering, suggesting, failing. So that's good. We can decide then what to apply. And sometimes even the fact that we don't decide, people will be like, hey, should I use any or should I use length? Maybe a suggestion will be like, oh, you can use any of them, and that will be fine. Right? Don't worry. I think we've done that. But it didn't work last time. Sharp lab.io. This is an array. What is that? Path is an array. Path equals. Maybe it will work like console.writeLine path.image. Just to split the two methods. Where are the methods M1 and M2? I want to find them. M1, end of M1. So look at the code. Yep, enumerable in this case. But yeah, but probably the enumerable implementation of the array is just because they have that.
Extra hub, no need.
Yeah, extra code. So at least, yeah, but it's just one method code. I'm sure internally it will just do the same thing as that thing. But I agree, this is just better. However, I don't think it's better enough to ask someone to do the change. That's okay. So do whatever you want. At least Mike, if you prefer to do length, nobody cares. I won't care. Oh, what new thing? Remove it? No, I'm sure it's used now. Fixed has claimed liquid filter. Oh, that's a nice one. You want to explain, Mike? If you don't want to, just let me know.
Sure. I mean, so with the new change, wait, what is this? Why is there only one file changed here?
Oh, you fixed it.
Oh, okay. Let's not talk about this one. Skip this one,
No,
because I overwrote it with a different PR. So just move on.
After
Don't
we
even
talk
bother
about,
with this
okay, yeah, because it will be too, yeah, we'll talk about the context also after. So let's skip this one. Apply template pattern for recipe steps. I didn't know about this one, which is funny. Right. So it's doing the same thing because we have an interface. So let's create a base class and change all our implementations to use the base class now. And now we don't see that. We could handle everything and just keep based on the name. So that's okay. Oh, I remember last time we had some changes like this, introducing base classes. I asked you to do something. I had asked you to create a table, at least in the doc, to explain what the interface expects and what are the available implementation of the interface and each class and what they do, like this class, what you can do. Okay, that's fine. But you see, we have one implementation. I like to have a table to show the different implementations we have to show the options. Yeah, so here it's fine, it's documented. I don't remember which one I told you that last time, but there was a table and I like tables, even if there is one line, just to show that there could be another line. And then you see the list of things you can use and what they do. I think I like it because in Microsoft Docs, that's how they do that. When you have an interface, you see all the implementations of the interface. Okay, same thing, refactoring with the base class. Important note. So what is the note about? About security currently, authentication.
So we removed the method, which is fine, but the problem is that the login view uses that method to generate the URL. The problem with that is that if you overwrite our login page, it will break you. So I added a note to make sure people are aware of it, and also I added back that method to allow their view to generate the URL. And then it doesn't matter we return not found or not. And this is just used to generate the URL. However, I added a startup filter that would intercept that request and direct it properly, so it doesn't break anyone. And
why don't you do it in the controller instead then?
Because the post request. So it's a post request that the form posts to this controller. You can't really direct a post to another post.
Oh, I see. And you can't even not redirect, but replace the invocation because it's not in the same.
Correct. So I use the filter.
It's too late. I see. Okay, the filter.
Yep. The reason why it's a filter because it needs to be registered early on before the MVC routing kicks in. So here I'm basically replacing the route values and then sending the user to to the new destination.
Okay. Is this something that will be removed in 3?
Yes, it's actually documented too.
Did you find
anything that I add? No, I didn't find an issue because if you search the code base for version 3, all the stuff that we need to do will come up.
I don't trust us to do that. So I did that myself, so I can do that also last time, because last time I said also for something else. So I will find the example. If we have something to fix for 3, as a breaking change, even if we know it's not a bug, but something we have to do, we just create an issue. Like remember about the thing you will talk about in a few minutes. Like, oh, we need to remember about this comment in the code that we say we can remove that in 3. Okay. Yes, we have it in the code. Totally fine. I agree. And then we also find issues, so we know that for 3 we can do that when we branch for 3.
Yeah, I can log an issue.
It's easy. It's just this way we won't forget, because we will forget. Like we will have so many things to remember, and so I think that's it. So this is fixing a breaking change from 2.0. You broke Simon, actually. You can be honest, you broke Simon. He was not happy with that. Don't use JObject.Merge in OpenID module. So not using merge with a test because merge is dangerous. The issue with merge is the null values. So you can configure it, but when we merge objects, if it's a null value in the objects, in the source object, what do we do? Ignore the property or just assume it's null in the target object we are merging to? So I believe that's the kind of things that is changing. So here is just setting the values from the object directly. Maybe there was another bug associated with that, but that's what I imagine an issue could be with merge. There's a test. That's great. React to recipe step changes. Oh, this is a comment we made last week that. No, last week, didn't we say last week we should not? Oh, this
Not
maybe,
here.
No, okay.
On the key. I made him do it, yeah.
Okay, so the keys are changed now. We use strings. So
Yeah.
This one. Okay, this one was done. So this is not using name of, but this one, the value itself is based on that. And this is fine because this name is used to match which step to execute. So probably when we use the name, it needs to change. Maybe, I don't know. Let's see. If tomorrow we decide to add a different name to that, then like we are breaking here because we are using the name now and not that, right?
But this was another PR that he did to change it. Now he changed it back. So it's like 3-4 days ago. So that's okay. It's not breaking. No. It's reverting.
But you see what I mean here, the same thing, like if we have a recipe and then tomorrow we change the name of the class, then we are breaking the old recipes. So this is the same case in this case. If it was something that was, it's not idempotent, but it could be like a value that will only be used for the currently running thing, not from a state, then that's fine to use name of. But if this name of is stored somewhere, then we have a problem. Because changing the name class will change the thing without seeing the impact it could have. So you can use the string Microsoft account settings, that's fine. But if we store the value and tomorrow we need to change the class, we still will work. It will still be backward compatible. If we decide to change the name of the class and we store the value, then it won't be backward compatible and we'll have to do migrations. So that's kind of dangerous. Okay. Simplify how to check the user in an. So this is the one you want to talk about?
Yeah. Yeah. So with this one, so with the recent changes we had with the authentication, when an administrator logs in, we don't register all the claims for in their cookie for performance reasons. I mean, we don't need this giant cookie because we know admin has access to all the permissions. However, this actually could cause an issues because things like has a claim will return invalid for admin because, you know, here, like in this example that's being highlighted, you're saying has claim of access admin panel. Well, this is going to return false because you don't have that claim. So what we did is now when you log in, if you are an admin, we give you a special claim, which basically give you access to everything. It's not a permission, it's a claim. And so has claim will still return true if you have that one claim, which is the global claim. However, that behavior will change in 3.0. So if you're checking has claim, instead, you might want to take has permission instead of the has claim, because the has permission checks if you have if you're authorized user to this specific permission, just like that example that's being highlighted, which is has permission access panel. And this is better because you're not checking against the claims, you're checking if you have permission to do that. So this isn't breaking anyone, but it will in 3.0.
Yeah. So I will add that this was discovered by Simon again, who was using hasClaim permission and say it doesn't work anymore. The fact that we had permission claims was a side effect of how we handled site ownership. It was a side effect, but people relied on that. Oh, do you have the permission access admin panel? And with your improvement of the admin role, we don't generate those permission claims again, and that's why they were not found. And so we don't have the side effect. So this PR is about creating the side effect on purpose. Oh, let's revert, let's create some fake permissions, or when you check for a permission claim, we see that if you're an admin, then we'll grant you we say that you have it, but you don't have a permission, but the claim, but we say that like you have it because we don't want to break you if you come from previous version, right? And you say that this thing here, which is just for non-breaking, will be removed in 3.0 because what you are supposed to do when you want to check a permission is to use the existing filter as permission. If you have the permission to do that for whatever entity you can pass also as an argument, then yes, you have the permission. Don't check if you have a claim named permission. This was a side effect. Just check for if you have the permission. And this is already existing. I asked you, I think, to create a filter like this, but you said, oh, we have one. So let's use that. Yeah, so that's good. So yeah, the users should do that. And I think I suggested that we could even detect that, like if we are in this code, it means we know a user is using hasClaim for permission. We could write something in the log to tell them, be careful, you are doing something that will break in the next major release. Or I also suggested that we could analyze the liquid templates once when we render them to detect usage of hasClaim with an argument permission. And also, like, if we could even, yeah, same thing, a warning on startup when we find the liquid template with that, or an error, or one, whatever, something that people will see, and so it won't break when they go in 3.0. Or maybe we should break on 3.0 with a better explanation, because on 3.0 it will just return false. And maybe if we detect that, we could just throw something to tell them, nope, we are doing something wrong, fix it before it fails in runtime, at runtime, like before it returns a bad value that you did not expect. I will just show you an example because I mentioned it was easy, and I will show you how easy. I just run up. There is an example in the test. Visitors, property is access visitor. So if you create an AST visitor and you implement visit member expression, for instance, there is also visit filter expression. So let's say visit filter expression, we will get a filter expression. We check if the filter name is hasClaim, and we check if the parameter is permission. And we just return, we can just then, oh, we went in there, so let's throw an exception. And that's all we have to do. Add a new visitor to the, when we open the template, and it will detect the issue. Can be done also if you want to see if properties exist or not. So that's really true. That's recent. I don't know how new it is, but that's recent. Next. Widget alternates for alias and slugs. I think that's iterating on what Mark Bala did for the hackathon, which was to add alternates for alias and slug for each content item. And now, what's the name? Identity info from CA GitHub account. Andy, I think it's Andy. Made the same thing. What? Yanis? Oh, it's Yanis. It's an exactly. Oh, info from CA will show info from CA. Okay, it's Yanis. Thank you, Nathan. So same thing here, but for widgets, which is cool. So new alternates. Let me check. And we have documentation about the alternates available. I love it. See tables, I love tables. Good job. Accessibility issue in notification widget. So we have another one. Question and one here too. We're fixing all the notification issues, NodaTime dump, clean up options with parser. Why? It's the best thing.
No, it's still the same thing. It's just we had like the same code repeated in two different places. I just moved it so it's reusable because I happen to need the same code in my project. I'm like, well, do I really need to copy the internal code again? So I'm like, man, I'll just go refactor it and then I'll be able to use it.
Okay, so what's the new class? This thing, OptionsFluidParser. Okay. What does it do?
It's another one of those your favorite base classes. Oh no, that's not the base class.
No, that's a comment, but
Yeah,
what
that's
do
a
we have
common
in here?
class. It just basically takes a string and replace if you give it, you know, any property from the shell settings. So like if you want to create a name for the container for like blob container or something, you can just use that parser.
So it's an options class. Parser the options, and we have a static free. That's where that we have this per instance. If we have multiple instances of this service, I probably did this thing, but that's we should, if we could, we should not have multiple free parsers unless we are configuring it. But I don't see that we are configuring it. It's the same instance. So maybe this should be a static thing. The parser should be static. Maybe the parser should be static. If we don't customize it, or maybe we customize it and then we don't want to do that, but I don't think we can customize a food parser. We can't. No, we can't. So it's done once. Maybe we should have a static one. We need to check that. Okay. Cool. Refactoring. Fixing outdated description of mail. Okay. Oh, Benedek. What is Benedek doing on OrchardCore? Is it his first commit?
I think not the first, but certainly not one for a long time. And you are in for a treat because you also have another open pull request.
Wow. Crazy. Removing tenant with SQLite DB failed to the DB file being locked. You merged it, so do you want to talk about it? I haven't said anything.
Just because probably it's an interesting thing. It was a lot harder figuring out why this is an issue than actually fixing it. So under SQLite, by default, we have connection pooling since like 2-3 years ago. And these connection pools are per database, per connection string. So in the end, per connection string. And while you have such a connection pool open to a database, the file will be locked, at least under Windows, so you can't delete it. And the issue behind us not being able to delete tenants when we wanted to delete them at most a couple of minutes after creating them with SQLite. Because during setup, the different connection string was used, a connection string that creates the database file if it doesn't exist. After setup, we use a different connection string in OrchardCore, which doesn't create the file because at that point, of course, the file will exist. So the solution here was to clear that initial connection pool that was locking the file right within setup, because it's in the middle of the setup operation where we switch the connection strings. And yeah, this fixes the issue.
connection pooling with SQLite. I was trying to find issues with that. I'm sure other people have the same issue. And
it's interesting because it's in that library actually in Microsoft.Entity Framework whatever where this connection pooling is managed. The interesting part there is that, as Georg pointed out under a pull request actually, is that these connection pools or the connections from the connection pools are pruned periodically, but the period is random. I'm curious why it's random, why it's not configurable or like 5 minutes fixed, but it's a random interval between 2 and 4 minutes.
Okay, well, fix file issues in their code. I remember when it was introduced because I found an issue, or maybe I found a PR probably with a connection pool, just to show them how faster it was with a connection pool. And then when it was shipped, I haven't seen anything. Then I showed the perf of Orchard with and without the connection pool. It was like 2,000 requests per second to 20,000 requests per second, like 10 times faster with the connection pool when we use SQLite. That's crazy. So I was super happy with that change. Cool. Let's clear the pool. To release the file. There is a YouTube video from the author of SQLite. I was watching it this week, actually. I haven't finished it. I watched it this morning again, explaining how SQLite works internally. The file store, the SQL translation to bytecode, what it can do, what it can't do. It's very interesting. So if you can watch YouTube video from the author explaining SQLite beautifully. Last one, NKDocs update and demo from the name I won't say because I will say it incorrectly. Arkadiusz.
Yes,
Yush.
that's right.
Wojcik.
Hello, everyone. I hope you hear me well.
Yes, it's okay. It's the low level, but it's fine. I think if you can talk louder or closer to the microphone, that will be better. But
Okay.
feel free to share your screen if you have a demo and show us what you want to talk about.
Okay, you should see it now.
And can you increase your font size, Control++, something like that? Just do Control+ multiple times and it will work.
I'm just increasing like this, but it's not working for Windows.
It's Chrome,
Okay,
right?
okay.
Oh, so
Okay.
Control. Yeah, thank you. Perfect.
All right. So together with Mike, we are working on new module. It's called.
Before you start, can you tell us your name properly?
Okay.
So we know how to say it.
So my name is Arkadiusz, or in short, Arek. I'm C# developer from Poland. I'm a big fan of OrchardCore project for a long time. In past, I made a few small PRs. This time, I decided to create like one full module for Orchard. And so today we'll do like presentation of that. As you can see on screen, so it's under infrastructure group. So we'll enable this. And it's appear in the admin menu. We have this section here under the configuration called your rewriting. And at the beginning,
All right. Before you continue, maybe you should just explain what it is, what the module is for, so people are aware of what it is and what it's supposed to do, and then they can see a demo.
Okay, so there is an open issue in repository, like someone is basically asking for rewrite module for OrchardCore. This is basically an use case where we would like to redirect some of the URLs to different one. It's quite common when you moving like content to different URLs basically, and you would like to create some rules that basically redirect the old URLs to new one. And there's a long discussion on that. There's even one suggestion to external module here, but the external module actually presented here it creates redirects for particular content. So basically, you have some content item, and you can attach redirection for this particular content item. So it's not like a global redirect rules that you can set up. And what this PR module is mitigating, it's like global set of rules, what to do with incoming URLs, like how to transform them to and there's two main options that you can rewrite them. So change them so they will be internally directed to some other route, or basically you can use standard HTTP mechanism to HTTP redirect basically with the HTTP status codes. So I will basically showing one example will be good. So basically we start with empty list of rules. And there are two main rules, redirect and rewrite. So let's start maybe from rewrite rule. Let's put some name here, like rule 1 EMG to media. Let's call it like this. Yes, Sebastian, you're
Someone
asking?
might not be familiar with the difference between rewrite and redirect.
Yes. So basically, when a rewrite rule is executed, it's take incoming user URL, it's changing it to different one, and this change is not visible for user at all. So this is for only internal server purpose, that we are modifying the URL, incoming URL, and this is transparent for you from user perspective. You cannot see any results of that action taking place, but obviously that affects how later this URL is proceed by the pipeline, because this action happens just after the request entering the processing pipeline. So when you rewrite the URL, you can, for example, as we will see in example, use image instead of media at the beginning of your path, and change it to the media. So basically, all the later modules will see that as a media and not image path. And this is redirect. On other hand, this is rule that it will affect the user browser, because basically what it says is it means that some status code have to be sent back to the user, so his browser agent will make the request once again, but using different URL that we are providing. So basically that's the main difference between the rewrite and redirect. I hope it's clear to understand right now.
Yeah, thank you.
And so we will do maybe, yes, rewrite first. And we will do that for such URL pattern. So basically, this will match every request that is starting with IMG and the name of the image, basically, or any other path. And basically, what we will do, we'll say that this URL have to be replaced by such URL. And this is all those funny signs are basically a pattern matching standard characters, and it means match anything. And here it means basically that this anything will be pasted back here again. And all of this convention was inspired by let me move that. basically with this project, Apache Rewrite, basically they I think was one of the first that were introducing such feature, and ASP.NET actually support parsing such rules, and we are heavily using that in that module. Yes, Sebastian.
Do you know why ASP.NET supports the Apache rewrite syntax?
I think it's for importing basically rules.
That's not the question. That's not the question.
For
Do you know
WordPress?
what? No, nope. Do you know why historically ASP.NET started supporting?
Oh no,
You might,
no, I don't know that.
and Zoltan, I might have said that before. No? Said
Look,
WordPress,
my only tip would be WordPress, since it also runs under .NET now.
The reason is because Orchard. Because I wrote the URL rewrite module in Orchard 1. It was one of my first contributions when I joined Microsoft because it was an easy one. And I knew about the Apache module because I knew about Apache. I was giving PHP courses, so I knew about the thing. I'm like, that's a great format. Why not use the same format? And then in Orchard 1, we have that support for this format. Then when .NET Core was created, the intern who joined Microsoft, one intern who joined Microsoft, his first task was to work on a rewrite module. And I told him, you need to support that thing because it's super useful, like the Apache module. And he implemented the alias rules and the Apache ones. And I said, yeah, look, even in Orchard, we use that. That's perfect. So, okay, let's do that. And that's why ASP.NET has that now. Because Michael, who was an intern and also developer in the ASP.NET team, decided to do the same thing. That's why, just funny, but that's why we have this in Orchard 1 also. And that's why it's also in ASP.NET Core by design. Yeah.
Nice, very, very nice story. Actually, I discovered one issue with it. These rules doesn't allow to put absolute replacements, and I've created issue for that in ASP.NET project. But this is like minor issue basically, that we cannot put absolute URL like redirecting to like other website basically. And one more thing about this is internally we rely on this basically. This module that we are presenting today internally is creating intermediate representation of rule using this this syntax. So basically, ASP can recreate the rule from the string. Basically, that was to avoid basically copying all that code that Sebastian was explaining that someone already written in ASP. That's dealing with how those rules are basically executed. So yes, so that's it. Going back here, yeah. So let's save it. So this rule is in place, and this allows us the example I'm always using for this is to open the image and try to access, and basically it's under the media URL. And basically what I do right now, I'm writing EMG and it should work. Basically, what it means, sorry, one thing, rewrite. Right. So basically, I've used EMG instead of media, and this URL, when it was received by the server, basically, it was matched against that rule, and internally it was changed, altered to basically replace IMG by media string. That's why OrchardCore could proceed it and display that result to me. There is a few options that you can select. Here, there's one like saying if the case when we match the URL, should the case sensitivity be in place or not? Another one, and here we have still discussion with Mike about it, is basically it's saying if the original query string should be appended to the resulted URL. Basically, because sometimes you would like, when you, for example, would like to add some extra query string in resulted URL, you would like not to append the original query string sent by user, but sometimes you would like to append all the query string that user entered here. So this option, and we are still discussing if this should be actually ignore original query string or it should be like append query string. But basically, this is steering. This flag is steering this logic. Basically, what should happen with original query string. And also for rewrite rule, there is extra option saying stop evaluating as subsequent rules. So basically what it means that after URL will be rewritten, so it will be altered by the rule, it will still the rule engine will start executing other rules, basically checking if the new URL is basically matching other rules. So if further rewrites are necessary. And if this is like checked, it means basically this is the last rule for rewrite. Don't do anything else with that request. As we'll see later on, this option doesn't exist for redirects, and this is because redirects are always final rule. But because every redirect is immediately responding back to the user agent, so browser agent. Basically, so every redirect is basically always every redirect. The next what we will show is basically the last rule. So this option is not necessary there. Okay, so let's see that example with redirect. Let's call it. We have example with about. Okay, let's do it like this. For example, it can be given this way using pattern matching, or it can be simplified to this. And basically here we have, so as I mentioned before, we had the same set of rules like before, but we don't have this last stop proceeding rules because every redirect basically is a rule, as we said. And the option we can select here is actually the type of redirect that will be used when responding back to user. So by default is this one. Either this one have lower HTTP status code, is a bit more dangerous because it means basically that browser, after receiving this response, will cache the response back, and it will later on use that response all the time without going to the server. So that's why it's the best default actually is this one, because browser will all the time ask the server back again what to do with the old URL basically. Obviously, for performance reasons, if we are really sure that the content was moved permanently and we would like to avoid the old request going back again through our rewrite engine, move permanently would be much better choice. But for default, it's much better to use this one. And in this example, yes, we will do such example that basically we are about us, we are redirecting to about. And here, basically, where we enter this URL, as we can see, it moves us back to about page. And to show how this works with query strings, here we have this option that query string should be appended. So once again, so as you can see, we are moved back again with query string. But if we change it to about us and change the rules, so we're not appending the query string, we are going to about page, but without that query string, basically. So this is basically like the basic functionality of that module. And there is one special case I would like to mention, that we have one special rule that is not visible here, but actually is executed before every other rule. It's this one, basically. This rule doesn't allow to change anything related to admin menu. And I thought that this feature is required because if someone will mess up something with the rules, it can basically like break the access to admin menu. If someone will put the bad rule that somehow redirects or rewrites admin menu URLs. So just in case, this is the rule that is executed before any other rules, that every request going back to the admin panel, is basically every other is skipped. Basically, we are skipping rules, we are ending that, and we are allowing that request to go normally. So this is for safety reasons. We had discussion if that should be optional or not, but I don't really see I don't see like any use case that someone would like to change it, actually. So at this stage, basically, this rule is used, and it's outside of the visibility here. Basically, we don't see here in menu. And yes, I think that's the main story here. Maybe Mike will add something more to this, because actually initially this module started as very easy one, like in terms of UI, but later on Mike pushed me to create some UI for that, and later on he created even bigger UI change for this. So maybe he will tells us something more about that.
There's really not much more I can add here. The only thing is that the UI is extensible. So if you need to add any more rules, you can simply implement the interface, which is documented. And then the minute you implement the interface, then you'll have another rule. That's why we went with this UI. When you click add rule, now you'll see that dialog that gives you sources of rules that you can select from, so you can actually add. This UI is very similar to the queries UI.
Shapes.
Yeah, so
steps,
shapes,
items, workflows, everything is using the same pattern. Shapes.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's easier to explain because we don't have to use anything else.
And that's great, but maybe it's too generic, redirect and rewrite. I would have called them like redirect, like, I don't know, regex redirect or regex rewrite, because I think there are other kinds of rules that are not based on regex, right? Like it could just be that, I don't know, or are all the rules in the middleware based on a regex?
Sorry, I mean the Apache mod rewrite that we are using. Basically, it's using regex.
Only,
so
okay.
Yes. That's basically. At very end, we are actually generating this like such string, and we are passing by to that code that creates code from this. So yes, it supports Redux from very beginning.
Okay.
One issue I mean I had is that yes, I know there's this policy that in we don't display the tabular views, but like for me it's I don't know why it would be more intuitive actually to see in like in main menu like the table of basically patterns and like substitutions for those patterns. But yes, it doesn't play as with this policy, I guess, that menus shouldn't be like that in admin panel. So that's that's one like disagreement I had with Mike. Basically, how this menu should look like. Basically, I thought more on the tabular one for this.
When you say tabular, you mean the table?
Yes, a table. Basically, a table with rule name, basically the pattern for that, the pattern for that rule, and the substitution URL for this. And I don't know, like for me, it's like much more giving me all the information I need, basically, like giving one look at the menu.
I will give my suggestion. Well, my thoughts about it, because I think I did a module in Orchard 1, and I think I remember how it works. At first, when I saw the PR without looking at the code, I thought, and I think we mentioned that thing recently also, I thought that a simple implementation would just be to have a text editor and you write the Apache rules inside the editor, right? And that will work for lots of people. We can link to a documentation and it will just work. I think that's what we have in Orchard 1. But it's not user-friendly enough. So it's fine to have a UI like this to show, and I like it also. Both are fine to me. Ideally, if we could just switch between one and the other, that would be the best. But I believe it's stored in a database format, like in JSON document, so we can't just edit the rewrite rules text and then get the table. So it's not back and forth. We have to choose between what edition mode we want. It's a different module.
Yes, exactly.
So I think a table is fine, but what I saw in the table is that it's ordered. So why do we have to type the order value in the editor? Why not just have an orderable list and we can just drag and drop and put at the first, put at the last, and we don't have to enter a number in the editor? We have examples.
So you could do that, but the problem is if you have a lot of rules, like multi-pages, sorting will be
that's okay.
Not ideal.
That's not
so that's
perfect,
why
you will never have multiple pages of, well, multi-pages. Let's write a single page.
This is actually, yes, this is also like discussion we had with Mike about that, because I also like this, as you said, your argument of that, I would like to have simple order basically, and like don't show it for user, just allowed to, drag and drop the order. So yes, I would prefer such solution actually, because otherwise, if someone would like to edit the order, like for example, if there will be a lot of order, like a lot of rules, and someone will have to manually change the number. Yeah, there'll be conflicts, and someone will have to manually go through other numbers and change them, basically.
I get the both arguments, because we've been there so many times, right? We've been doing Orchard for 15 years, if not, and we've had this issue a lot. Like taxonomy, like how do you order taxonomies? We have to reorder based on the parents, the child. We have move up, move down the terms. I mean, the taxonomy tree that we have. Same thing for the list part, right? We can just reorder. And for taxonomy, we have a specific algorithm to do that. We just, when we reorder, the order is actually a float. So we just divide by 2 and we store the float. So there is never a conflict. Here, I agree, Mike, that yes, if we have hundreds of rewrites, what the issue we have here is that we need to show everything in a single page if we want to put something at the top, right? I think we could even keep paging and just say, have the pager be able to change the number of items we display. So if we want to move something to the first page, we can move it to the first page, or maybe have a button to say, move to the top. And when you click to the button, it goes to the top and we go back to the first page. So we don't have to drag and drop to go to the top. Or maybe just display everything in one page and hope that nobody would have hundreds of rules, or just have a limit. I don't know. I don't want to say people
Just
won't
leave
have
it,
hundreds
or
of rules.
just leave it as is. And if someone really want to mess with those numbers, they can go and change it.
Oh, but today I see the
Because
issue. I see the issue today already because I have to type a number, which is an issue.
you don't actually click add rule, please. All
So
right,
it will add
just
to
so
the
we can
to the end. Fine,
click
but-
add rule. Yeah, just click one. You see how the number is pre-calculated for you, so you don't have to type in anything because
If
we're
you type
out
one, yeah,
So
Maybe-
Yeah.
currently
Oh.
the solution works and it's flexible. But yes, if you need to mess with the order, you need to find out which order. And if you collide, like having two numbers,
that's
it
fine,
doesn't
right?
matter. We still
that's
we
more
sort by
priority.
created date.
It's more
Yeah.
like priority.
So the
than
way how
order.
it's sorted by order and then created at, so it's always consistent.
Yeah, showing this order here, it's weird. So if it's the order, then don't show it. Oh, but you need to display it because if you want to move before, you need to put a value. Yeah, so that's super odd, right? But yeah, I understand.
Yes. One of the other features I would like to see here is that it's missing right now. Maybe for this version, is basically like simulation button where someone would be able to put your URL, like click the button and basically list the rules that are like hitting this
in the editor. Yes, in the editor, when you type a regex, you really want to see what matches the regex.
Exactly. Yes. So we skip
in the editor. Yeah. Or a simulator. I see. Like you could simulate. Well, ideally, you would also be able to type a URL in a text box and say, show me all the rules that apply and what's the actual redirect or rewrite. See, with all the subsequent rules and everything. That would be perfect. That's super hard. Well, that's not trivial. That's not hard, but that's not trivial.
Yes, that's why we didn't even mention that. But yes, it will be super helpful to actually be able to simulate this and don't test it on production, but actually test it here. Don't test it in like site, but test it here.
If it's not in the editor, you have to save it, and that can be dangerous. So that's why you want it to be in the editor. Something you can do before is just link to a website that will test regex, like regex storm or whatever. There are lots of websites, so you can just have a link under the text box that says, if you want to test your regex, click on this link, go on this website, and then people will use the external website. That's the first thing you can do before implementing it.
And yes, something like that. Because right now the solution is that when we add the rule, it's safe, it's immediately reloading the pipeline basically.
Yeah.
So every rule and addition of the rule basically reloads the pipeline. So it's taking it's immediately taking basically action. And ideally, it will be good to first of all test it and maybe also, as you said, to cache them somehow before actually applying them. Yes, it's open discussion actually how to do that.
Well, that works today. So even without, so just a link first to let people play with that, so you don't block your PR on those things.
Yes.
I'm also wondering about the query string append only or not. I would just, because I know in IIS rules there is a placeholder to say inject the query string. So if at least maybe it's, so there are two things. There is copy the query string, and there is also maybe append to the query string, and there is also replace part of the query string. Let's say that you want a rule that will just update the page 100 to page 1. I don't know. but without losing everything. So that it would be nice to be able to do that. I don't know how it's done in Apache rewrite today. So that I would go with what Apache rewrite can do in this case, or we do by default and just follow the pattern.
All right. Yes. So yes, as you said, there's an append, there's a drop, and I'm not sure about replacement, but probably yes. There's also if I scroll down the flags, I think here.
If you just want to replace a value or to you see quiz string append QS discount. Yes, append. So these things, maybe that's interesting to see what you can do with that.
Yeah, so basically right now when the append is, yes, we are using this and this if it's not selected. This one is selected and the one if not selected. We still have discussion on this.
Okay.
Basically, yes, that requires some more talking,
but
I guess.
That's great that we record the meeting, because give some people time to watch the meeting, because if they have some requirement, they have to go on the issue and provide the feedback.
Exactly. Please provide feedback under PR here.
And also, I like people to provide some scenarios to see if their scenario will be answered. For instance, can we define a rule that will convert HTTP to HTTPS? Can we provide a rule that will change a domain to the other one? Can we provide a rule that will change a trading slash to a permanent redirect without the trading slash? All these kind of things that I assume people will have to do for any new website. So that will be interesting to know that we can do that and probably document how it's done with this model.
It's good, Sebastian, that you mentioned that story from ISP. That explains why there's not so many moves here. That was intern code, basically. So yes, my issue was that this as you mentioned, this rewrite rule doesn't support full URLs basically.
And the reason might be that they didn't want that to be supported on purpose for security reasons, or maybe it's a bug. That would be nice to know first. But yeah, I don't know if anyone has touched this code since Michael, who worked on that like 7 years ago.
Yeah. Yes. As I checked, yes, this code is old, right?
Well, if you find a bug, you can submit a PR and they will fix it, but not before .NET 10. That's the issue. So you have to deal with that. So that's a problem then. Or maybe create another type of rewrite rule that won't be stored in this thing, but will do its own magic with a middleware.
Yes, that's possibility. That yes, to take that code and modify it a bit, or submit PR and wait until they will merge that. But as I checked, I think Apache, as I remember, Apache supports this. I mean, the full URL. Yes, like here, for example. Yes, I think it support that.
Okay, right. Well, we have to start the meeting now. We are way over time. Thank you, Arcadius.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
You a lot. Okay, cheers.
You soon, guys.
Thank you. Good work.
Bye.